Well, you looking at me. So we applied for a permit that was for either 200,000 people. And I remember a few days before the march, we always knew that more, every time you apply for a permit, you assume that either it will be cut in half. I'm giving you some real organizing things here, tactics. Well, yeah, some rules to organizing. When you say that there's going to be 200,000 people somewhere, you usually cut that in half because other people, by the time the event happens, will say they don't agree anymore or they're busy or whatever, they don't want to come. But in this situation, the numbers were growing, and the number of people on Facebook at this point, we were at 1 million people that were saying we're coming on different pages. We had so many people organizing. So there was no more cutting it in half. There was multiplying going on at that point. And I remember a few days beforehand, because when you ask the police for a permit for 200,000, they'll give that permit to you and everything will work out. But if you start telling them 1 million people are coming, then they want to ask more questions. And we didn't have all the resources at that moment to pay all the things that they wanted us to pay. So a couple days beforehand, I just remember sitting there in a room with a bunch of folks, and a young woman by the name of Janae Ingram helped to get the permit and secure the logistics for the march. And we were sitting in a room, and I just remember her screaming, "Don't tell anyone that the numbers are growing beyond 200,000." And we were sitting there going, "Oh shit, this is bad," because we knew that there were going to be more people out there. But the cell towers went down in Washington. Some of that is orchestrated by the government. They make sure that you can't call and do things that are not good and set up different activities that wouldn't be good for the rally. But then a lot of it just has to do with so many people being online at once. And so we didn't have any cell phone service, although we paid all of this money, which I still think we need a refund for, to get internet service out there. Because there were people like, listen, we got to set it up, we can tap into the towers, you guys are going to be good. Didn't happen. So that meant we were standing there looking at 1 million plus people, 1,200,000 people in front of us, right there in Washington. We were having moments of just crying and just everything, just feeling so overwhelmed by the support and the people who actually came out, not for us, but for their issues, for their families, generational attendance, people, mom, grandma, grandpa, the dad, the children, everything. And it's so funny, just really quickly, I was at an event speaking to some kids, and my problem is I need to read my whole schedule. So I never read after the march. It was exactly 6 months after the march. And I did not read that the children that I was speaking to were going to be 4 and 5 and 6 years old. So when I got there, I didn't know what I was going to talk to these kids about. I'm like, oh my God. So I said, there was this thing called the Women's March. And all these kids were like, I went to the Women's March. And I said, phew, I found something that we could talk about. And one little girl said to me, and I went to the Women's March in D.C. with my mom and my granddad and my grandma, but my father had to go in New York because him and my mom got a divorce and they couldn't be in the same place. The little kids. So we so honest, right? We swear Carmen loves the babies. And so, we basically what we figured out from all the people who were there, just the folks who were standing around, they were like, there's something else going on. None of us knew what that was until we got back to the hotel and turned on the TV. And when we turned it on, we were thinking, oh, is that Washington? But it was London. It was New York. It was so many places across the world, and that was the moment when I just broke down because I had no idea, and I know none of us did, that people had turned out in the way in which they did. It was an incredible day that was beyond all of our expectations.
And I just will add that it was intentional for us to actually make sure that everybody felt that they were included in the process, because we were developing tables of diversity and inclusion. So we were making sure that people who maybe weren't represented in the organizing table were actually part of the partnerships. So we had a conveners table, an artist table. We worked with America Ferrera, who was one of our co-chairs. We had an elder table with Dolores Huerta, Harry Belafonte, Gloria Steinem. We also had a partnership conversation, and we were able to bring on over 500 partners within the 10 weeks. So our faces were plastered at 11 p.m. in New York, but it was really 8 p.m. in California, to like an audience like this talking about the Women's March and why it was important for people to participate. We were having 7 a.m. conversations with about 80 organizations from AFL-CIO. So we were intentional about not only allowing the people who were online talking about that they were going to come to be a part of it, but we were also reaching out to organizations far and over there, and because some of our backgrounds are in criminal justice, so we had to make sure that we were reaching out to indigenous communities, to Muslim communities, to environmental justice, reproductive, because we as women are not monolithic, right? That all our issues intersect. To Jewish communities, we were making sure that we were bringing on partners, so there were over 540 partners within the 10 weeks that were brought on board. We also had a policy table that we created where women could then find what their issue was, right? So we had about 27 women that Linda and myself had organized that were transgender, non-conforming, from different issues, asking them to actually have high impact and low ego. Leave your ego at the door. And we created this transparent process that everybody thinks, was some new, type of study or whatever, but we use Google Docs to actually have people talk about what their issue was. So we had reproductive justice. What does that look like? Criminal justice. We don't want women to be shackled while they're giving birth, while they're incarcerated, right? We're looking at immigration reform. What does it mean for a mother to be deported, meanwhile her children are left behind? So we were asking people to really think about their issue, expertise, and in an intersectional way with the gender lens. So a lot of people felt connected to our policy points that Bob was talking about earlier. And so it was by design that we were making sure that we were creating entry points for people to get involved and for people to actually see themselves within the leadership. And so when we saw the 200,000, which is something that, like Tamika will say, we will, put an event on, we have 500, we're like, okay, let's get food for 150, right? But this time we knew that there were going to be people, because we were also having individuals coordinate buses to come to Washington, D.C. There were, by the end of the Women's March, there were 70 national coordinators. There were about 400 state coordinators. There were 400 marches that happened globally, right? In 90 countries, and there were 4 national co-chairs. So this is what it looks like when you come together, keep your eyes on the prize, which was January 21st for us, right? The Women's March, and you build collective power. So all that to say is that we didn't anticipate 5.2 million, we didn't even know. But we knew that we were doing something because we were extremely intentional about creating entry points for all people to feel included.
This is what I said.
Thank you.